one whole piece. Now we're going to use our one whole piece to help us make our number line. So try and flatten it out as best you can. I know it's probably a little ugly. You're going to have to turn your notebook sideways so that your one whole piece will fit in your notebook as best as it can. I know it's probably a little long still, even on sideways paper, but as best as you can. So if you need a new page, I've already told you to be on a new page anyway. That's the page. Alright, so in using, no, you cannot go diagonal. That's why I said it needs to go up and down, and I realize it's going to be a little bit long still. In using that whole piece, look up here, I'm going to make a number line. Okay, so I went from 0 to 1 whole. Notice my number line is the exact same amount of space as my one whole piece. You need to draw something similar in your notebook. I understand that your one whole piece is still a little long, but you need to draw something similar. First, what do you see? Just looking at our number line, what do we see? Got it drawn in your notebook. Your whole piece should be to the side. What do we see? Lene? A 1. What does that 1 mean on my number line? One whole. What else do you see? Matthew?
I see a line.
A line. That would be the base of our number line. Kayla, what do you see? 0. What does that 0 mean? Doesn't mean part. What does that 0 mean? What does that 0 mean? Harley? Give me a unit. 0 what? Nope, not parts. What is it, Bailey?
0 whole.
0 holes. These mean whole pieces. So if I have 0 holes, and then I go all the way up to 1 hole, that's going to be the basis of my number line. That 0 means 0 holes. I don't have to pull anything. 0. The 1 meaning I have 1 whole piece. How do you think I'm going to use this with fractions? How do you think I'm going to use this? Maybe some spaces you might use? We're going to think about this. Now you're not going to draw this one in your notebook, but if the first whole piece represented 1 hole in the number line, where would 2 holes be? Where would 2 holes be? Where would that be? Lene, what you thinking?
One hole is not long enough for another hole.
So what do I need to do?
Draw another 1 hole.
Draw another 1 hole. Okay. What's going to happen with my number line? Let's put it down.
On the other side, put it in 2 holes.
I'm going to keep it going. Now I have, what'd you say? 2?
2 holes.
2 holes. What if I wanted 3 holes? Draw another bar. What about my number line? What's going to happen for 3 holes on a number line? I'm going to continue my line. What might be a story that would go with this picture? Think about what I have. What do I have? What do I have? Looking at my picture, what do I have, James?
3 holes.
3 holes of something. What might be a story problem that would go with this picture? Bryce? an actual event. James, I'm over here. What might be a story or a math problem that could happen in real life that I would draw this picture for? Bailey, what are you thinking?
Miss Miller had three tables.
Okay.
Two of the tables were broken. One was not broken. What is the fraction of this problem?
I like it. I have 3 whole tables. We got that drawn? Yes. I have 3 whole tables. How many are broken, Maylee?
2.
2, of course. 2. That is not blue. 2 tables are broken. 1 is not broken. What was your question?
How many? What is the fraction of this?
No, you're not doing this.
What is the fraction of this?
What is the fraction of broken tables or unbroken tables? What do you want? Alright, what's the fraction of broken tables? The fraction of broken tables. Mitchell? How many tables are broken? 2. How many tables do I have in total? It's not going to be 2 by 3. 2/3. Okay? We're going to create some number lines using our pieces. You should not be drawing anything right now. The only thing that you should have drawn is your one number line. That's it. We're going to be using our fraction pieces to help us create our different number lines. Open your notebook. We're going to talk about how to use the number line to count. Okay? We have our 1 hole drawn. We measured it with our fraction piece. Now we got, get it? I'm not going to let you just sit there. Now we need our half pieces. How are we going to use our half pieces? What are we going to do to figure out halves on the number line? What am I going to do? Lene, you're on fire today. What am I going to do?
You're gonna put the 2 halves together to make a whole.
Yeah, I'm going to put my 1/2 piece here. And then my other 1/2 piece here. With your pencil, once you put that on your number line, you need to put a little tick mark where they meet, because that's going to symbolize 1/2. So once you've gotten your pieces laid out and you've marked where your 1/2 is, your number line, once you move your pieces, should look like this. You have 0 holes, 1 hole, and then 1/2. That's what your number line should look like once you've used your pieces to find the 1/2. You can move your pieces to the side. You're not going to need those right now. Excuse me? It needs to be on your line, so you're using your half pieces. That's why we brought those out. Then you need to label it, yep. Now, I only have 1 tick mark that says 1/2. But I know from knowing fractions, how many pieces do I need in the fraction 1/2 to get me to a whole? How many pieces do I need to get me to a whole if my fraction is 1/2? James, how many pieces do I need? 2. That, I already know that from the denominator. The denominator tells us how many pieces we need. Where are my 2 parts? Because I only have 1/2 written. Where are my 2 parts? Lene, extra bonus dolphin dollar for being on fire today.
One is on the other, one is on one side and one is on the other.
Kind of squiggle where 1 part is, please. Lene's going to show us where 1 part is. There's 1 part. Where's the second part? Because we know that 2 parts. Keep going. Hey, 2 parts get us all the way to that 1. And what does that 1 mean? 1 whole. 2 1/2 pieces equals 1 whole. 1 whole. When we count these pieces, when we use number lines to count pieces, just like when we use our pictures to count pieces, we count the spaces in between. When you use a number line to count spaces, you need to count the spaces in between. Please write this down in your agenda, or not in your notebook. If you need to write it sideways because your number line is sideways, that's fine. But make sure you know that it's the space in between the tick marks. You're not counting the tick marks. You're counting the spaces in between. Think about when we did data boards. You counted the length and width. Did we count the pegs? No, we counted the space in between. That's what we're looking for. Yes.
Because if you were not counting the spaces, you would only have it would only be one half.
It would be like 1 length. Yeah, you're exactly right. We gotta count the spaces in between. That's a big mistake. Suzanne, please sit down there, people behind you. That's a big mistake that 3rd graders make. They want to count. And let's just switch it just for a second. A lot of 3rd graders say 1, and that's it. Or they start here and say 1, 2, 3. This is broken into thirds. You have to count the spaces, just like Lene said. She said, this is 1 part, this is my second part, so I know this is broken into 2 pieces or broken into halves. Okay, let's turn it back for you. Alright, so in your notebook, you're not going to trace your 1 whole piece like we did today, but I just wanted you to see how the picture version of fractions and the number line version of fractions were related. We're going to draw number lines like how I taught you at the beginning of the year. So if I have my notebook page, let's do, here's my notebook page. I have holes. And then I have my margins. Put your fingers on the margins. They are the reddish pinky lines on the page. You're going to draw your number line margin to margin. What that means is you're going to trace one of those blue lines from one margin to the other. And that's going to be your number line. I'm making my notebook page right now. Alright, so I've gotten my notebook. I'm getting ready to do a number line in my notebook or on a piece of notebook paper. I'm not just going to draw it randomly across my page. I'm going to start, Corbin, at the first margin. Put your finger on the first margin, please. That is that first pink line closest to the edge of your book. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to draw on that blue line until I get all the way across to the other one. My endpoints are going to be on my margins. For right now, I want your endpoints 0 holes to 1 hole. 1 hole, because we're doing pieces of a whole. We're doing parts of a whole. my fraction tells you that?
The denominator.
The denominator tells me how many equal sized pieces. Am I going to put it here?
No.
Why? Why would I not put it there? That's broken into two pieces. Why would I not put it there? Eva, why would I not put my tick mark there? Fractions are fair. They have to be fair. That is not fair. I understand that you are not perfect, but it should be pretty close to the middle. So now I have two equal sized parts. I can say that that line is 1/2. Meaning if I color to that line, I have 1/2, and then if I color past that line all the way to the end, I get to 1 whole. Yes? 2? Where is 2/2 going to be? Because if I color from here, starting at 0, and I color to here, what's going to be my fraction, Maylee? 1/2. But if I want 2 pieces, and I keep going, I'm going to have what fraction, Maylee? 2/2. It's just going to go where?
1 whole.
Because 2/2 is going to be equal to 1 whole. What's going to go here? Think about what you know about a fraction. Something is going to go there. It's going to go at the 0. Okay? Nope, it's not going to be a whole. It's 0. 0 holes. James, what do you think?
I think it's gonna be a whole, 1 whole for
We're at 0. Is 0 equal to 1 whole?
no, it's 0 wholes because the 0 does not count.
0.
1 0.
Alyssa?
0 halves.
0 halves.
Oh whoa, that's amazing.
If I start at 0, but my line is broken into equal sized pieces, I have 0 of them,
But you have 2.
but I have 2 that I could have. If I color halfway, Aiden, and I get all the way over to here, I'm now using 1 piece, even though I have 2 to make a whole. If I keep going and get all the way across to the end, I've used 2 pieces out of all of my possible pieces. I want you to get in the habit of labeling 0 out of how many pieces, each of your unit fractions, and then your whole. So let's do our thirds. No, let's do our thirds together. Go ahead and draw your new number line. Please draw it correctly, margin to margin, tracing your blue lines. Find your new number line.
Are we gonna do it 1?
We're going to do thirds this time.
So
Just drawing a number line right now. It should be margin to margin. Pink line to pink line. What am I gonna label this spot? Peter?
0 thirds.
I'm gonna label it 0 thirds. Very good. That'd be 0 because if I'm here, I don't have any pieces. But I'm going to break that line into what?
Into thirds.
Into thirds. I know that down here is going to be equal to 1 whole. What's going to be my fraction down there? Think about how many pieces I would need to use. Think about how many pieces I've broken it up into. Here,
3 thirds.
you're on a roll. It's going to be 3 thirds. Okay? Now I need to break my number line up. Am I going to put 3 lines?
No.
No. Do we count the tick marks?
No.
No. We're counting the spaces in between. Do you have a question? Okay, hang on. here to here, how many thirds have I gone? One third. What if I kept going? What's going to be here?
2/3.
And what if I kept going all the way to the end?
3/3.
We already have that written down.
No way.
Because
You don't have to write it
3/3
already there.
is already equal to 1 whole. Yes, ma'am.
Why does 0 at the beginning?
I want you to get in the habit of that because that's the issue for making a silly mistake. And when you get way up into high school, you'll go before 0 and you'll go after 1. You'll extend your number line. So get in the habit of knowing where 0 is. Okay? Let's try fourths. Make a new number line.
Oh my god.
Got fourths going on now. Corbin, how many pieces am I going to break this number line into? Fourths. You're exactly right. I'm going to break it into fourths. What's going to be the value of this beginning line? Natalie, you with me? What's going to be the value at the beginning? What's that going to be worth? I'll get you one in a second. Give me 2 seconds. Natalie, what's it going to be worth?
0 whole.
It's not, 1 is 0 wholes. How could I write that as a fraction, though? Yeah, I would say 0 fourths. What's going to be my end point? I know my denominator is what? 4, because I'm breaking it into 4 pieces. What's going to be my numerator? Peter, you're on fire. What is it? 4. Go ahead and break the rest of this line up and put our unit fraction, or each of the fractions, please. Corbin, can you tell me what your strategy was to break it into fourths?
First I go in the middle.
He said, first I'm going to go in the middle. He's going to start using what we call a benchmark fraction, something that's easy to find. Something that's easy to find is 1/2, right? Yeah, 1/2 is a pretty easy one because it's just in the middle. I have 2 pieces. I keep saying pizzas. 2 pieces. But I need 4 pieces. So I'm going to break this one up. And then this one up. Alright, help me label my fractions. What is going to be my first tick mark from here to here? What is that worth? Kate? 1/4. This one to this one. What is going to be my middle worth? Matthew?
2/4.
2/4. What about if I kept going and I said from here to here to here? What would be that tick mark? What would that be labeled? Corbin?
3/4.
3/4. What about if I went all the way across? What would that be worth? James?
4/4.
Which is also known as
A whole.
a whole. Alright, I would like you to do a number line for 2 more fractions.
Okay.
I want you to do a number line for 6 and 8. Okay? Be careful with those. Make sure your pieces are about equal. And I want to see your labels for the 0 and the labels for the whole.